Hi, this is Jerry Ludlow, and this video is about using your big brushes to paint with. I'm going to be painting a landscape consisting of a few trees along a country path, and this style of painting I find rewarding, and I hope you will too. The initial drawing is done very quickly. It's just going to be the trunks of the trees, the horizon, and a few marks as a guide to where the path is. That's the trees done. Now just a few bits behind them. Where the tops of the trees and foliage go. Now I'm using a large brush. This is a size 13 Skoda, and the aim is to cover as much paper as possible and make it hard to fuss, to keep things loose. Nice big puddle of Payne's grey, leaving the trunks as I paint. Keeping this fairly light. Quite a nice brush to paint with this, but it is quite big. Does have a nice point though. That's a lot of the paper covered already. Now I'm going to start with the area behind the trees and then come down to the path. And this I'm using sap green and some white, which I've just put onto the palette from the tube. I quite like the green that you get from adding the two. No fussing, on with the paint. And then very quickly putting on some burnt sienna. It's nice to keep things flowing. I'm just going to rub out these pencil marks on the trunks because I want the white to show through. Still using the large mop. Going to start painting the background. This is cobalt turquoise. Just going to be some distant hills, and a lot of it's going to be covered up. And underneath that, it's just going to be putting some green. It takes a while to start taking shape, and I'm mindful of the direction the light's coming from and packing my darks against the lights. Once again, working on this foreground with some neat burnt sienna and some raw umber. Now starting to put some darks in using Payne's Grey and raw sienna. Keeping these trunks free of any paint. Just trying to put some abstract shapes in. Wanting it to be nice and dark. And quite thick paint here. There's some shapes of some distant trees, using a quick flick with the side of the mop. Just skips over the rough paper and you get those broken marks. Look like foliage from trees on the trees. Just breaking up these areas of grey with a tissue. Just adding a bit of interest. And I've just dried that again because I want the paint to be completely dry when I start on the trunks. Now I'm using a big brush with very long bristles, a Chinese style calligraphy brush. It's good to use on this kind of thing. It's a bit floppy and has a bit of a mind of its own, but I'm going to be using it for doing the dark side of these trees. Holds lots of paint. Nice wet wash going on here. Brush is taking me where it wants to go. Some of it. keeps you loose. I'll try and keep up with the colours that I'm using here, but as you can see, I'm using several. But nice and thick. And keeping the right hand side free of paint as much as possible. And making the marks different, trying to keep it interesting. And leaving a jagged edge at the base. There's going to be some bushes and plants and things growing at the bottom. It really is good fun painting like this, and it doesn't always work out, but it doesn't matter, just do another one. You can see I'm not fussing at all. Just getting the paint on. And packing some darks next to the lights there. They're really coming to life now, those light areas. Still using this big floppy brush. And using it just to add some light colours to the grasses on the lane. Just keeping the paint flowing. Nice warm colours in the foreground, bringing that closer. And again I've moved the video forward because I've dried that off. So I want to put in the leaves on these trees now, and the trunks needed to be dry. This is burnt sienna. Just doing some shapes of the tops of the trees with a few leaves on there. While I've got that colour on the brush, just putting in some of the same here and there. Using using a variety of strokes with the brush. Varying it a bit now with raw umber. This is going to be an autumnal scene with these colours. And now pushing back some of the foliage, some of the leaves, looking like maybe coming from some trees behind. Keeping the colours grey and bluey grey. Still using a big brush. Just keep a reasonable point on it, but sometimes the bristles split at the tip, so I'm not going to be using it for doing the branches when I get to. I'm really loving these colours. Just going over the grey, a little bit of wet in wet. Now I've finally gone down to a smaller brush, which is a dagger brush, which holds quite a lot of paint. It's got a fine point on it. I want to get these branches in. Not doing too many. Restraint is the name of the game here. I want to leave lots of light coming through the trees. So I'm just doing very thin branches and haven't done a lot of leaves. Vary in the darks too. I'm using sepia now, sometimes Payne's grey, neutral tint, all my dark colours. Now using a rigger brush as well as the dagger brush. So I'll slow down a little bit compared to the start with the big brushes. But I'm still keeping up the momentum with these brushes, keeping it fairly fast and loose. And if you paint this way and it does come off, it really does appear that the painting was done with ease and speed. But you need to do your planning before you start with this on where things are going to go. Get some lovely branches in with this rigger. Holds quite a lot of water and it's ideal for this kind of work. Using a slightly larger brush, I'm going to put the shadows of these trees going across the path. Nice dark mixture. with some alizarin crimson in the mixture. Now just using the side of the brush, just trying to get the look of some bushes and things at the base of the tree, and just putting a little bit more colour in into the trees themselves. Keeping these marks random. Just flicking the paint on. Dry brush. I probably spent more time doing these last few bits than I did doing the entire first part of the painting. Concentrating on doing these twigs and small branches and things on the ground. Just going to use a little bit of white to break up these areas of grey. I don't mind sometimes using this at the end. Use it very sparingly, just to have a few areas glistening. And here's the finished piece. Big Brush Watercolours. Give it a go yourself. Bye.